Hello there, whisky lovers and lovers of all distilled drinks around the world. I'm Jock, and I have a small company called Scotch and Folk. www.scotchandfolk.nl. There are some English pages in there too. As you all know, or all, some of you who follow some of my blogs would know, my general purpose in making video blogs is to talk about whiskey, and to talk about whiskey in Dutch. But I've made a little step sidewards temporarily. I did the last one about gin, which has been unusually bottled on the island of Islay and made by Bruichladdich. And I'm going to speak again in English because it's not about whiskey, and I'll get back to whiskey again, and I'll be talking in Dutch again about whiskey because there are so many people that talk about whiskey anyway. So I would like to really address the Dutch market, the country in which I live, when it comes to whiskey. But now that I'm talking about rum tonight, and I'd like to talk about three different ones. And again, very unusually, these rums have been bottled on the Isle of Islay. They haven't been made there, of course. They've been made in the Caribbean, but they've been bottled on the Isle of Islay. I'm going to pour them first so that they can get to a little bit of, well, they'll do something in the glass. Beautiful bottles, I'll talk about them in a minute. Now what I'm pouring here in front of this is a Guyana rum. This one is a Jamaica rum. Cork quite tight on it. Pour the Jamaica. And here we have Barbados. Now, first of all, a little bit about the packaging. If you look at the beautiful little bottles, they all look the exact same. And I'll take it up a bit closer to the camera, see if it can catch it all right. Can you see that? It's got a little dog tag on it. See? Each one of them has a little dog tag. And on the dog tag it says Renegade Rum Company. The Renegade Rum Company, which is Bruichladdich distillery in the Isle of Islay. Now, I have here what's it called? A magnifying glass. And you need a magnifying glass for these rums because the lettering on the labels is very, very small indeed. Well, maybe you've got good eyes, but I need one anyway, because even though I've got a reading part in my glasses, I can't even read the small print on it. It's very, very small indeed. They're all bottled at 46%, which is the usually bottling strength that Bruichladdich uses. This Guyana rum was distilled in the Port Morant distillery in Guyana, and it's had an additional maturation in Tempranillo casks, Ribena del Duero. So it's an additional maturation in a wine cask, basically. And 46%. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to taste all of them and talk about all of them and talk about rum in general. The Jamaican is from Money Musk in Jamaica, and it has an additional maturation also in Tempranillo casks. And now we have the Barbados rum, and it's from the Foursquare distillery in Jamaica. Foursquare, a very, very famous distillery indeed in Barbados, and it has had an additional maturation in a Banyuls cask. Banyuls, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, I'm sure you all know, but in case you don't know, Banyuls is a small region in France which makes red dessert wine, very sweet red dessert wine. Now before I get to tasting them and talking about them, I'd like to say a little bit about rum, a little bit about the history of rum. Lord Byron once said, there's not so doubt so much the spirit can calm as rum and true religion. You can choose your religion and make it whatever religion your choice may be, but please do let me help you choose some rum. And today, 3 rums which have been chosen from these distilleries, independently bottled by Bruichladdich or Murray McDavid Company, whichever you'd like to. I don't know which one owns the other. Which is the holding company? Does Murray McDavid hold Bruichladdich or the other way around? They're all owned by the same people. And this is 3 of the range of very, very excellent rums. And I've chosen 3 different marks to choose. When I say the word marks, I do not mean points. I don't mean numbers that's been given to them as a point given by a person who tastes it, because you'll very seldom hear me giving points or to any kind of spirit drink or wine or whatever. I don't do that. It's not part of what I do, because with all respect to other people that do it, for me, I've chosen not to. I do give points to whiskies during tasting panels when there are a whole bunch of other people doing it, and we can get all of the scores and take a. You can get what comes out of the hat as something which is the general score. Somebody might give it a 93, another might give it an 86, and then you get the bit in the middle, which I think can be very helpful. But for me to tell you that this might be a 96 and this might be an 84, I mean, who died and made me God after all? I mean, who am I? I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to tell you what I think of them. Rum. It's getting hot, you know, as a drink, rum. It's really getting hotter and hotter all the time. And being a frequent visitor to whisky festivals, I keep seeing more and more rums turning up at whisky festivals, and more people asking for them. And nowadays you're even getting festivals on rum on itself in Europe. In the Americas it's never stopped being hot, and now it's becoming trendy again, and to drink rum neat, not only in cocktails. Rum's well known, especially the light rums from Cuba, the Havana Club and the Bacardi, for example. Very, very light rums which have been used in the great Caribbean bartenders, their style for making really good cocktails. But these rums are very good on their own, and I would like to talk about them. Rum is a distillate which is made from sugar as a basis, or sugar cane, not from sugar. Made from sugar cane. Once they've pressed the juice out of the sugar cane and they've crystallized it into sugar, there's a little product left which is called molasses, and there's still a high percentage of sugar in it. And they can add water and warm it up and add yeast and then distill it. And they can distill it either in an alembic formed pot still, or they can use column stills. Now, this differentiates them from each other. The column still distilled rums are very light, and the ones that are distilled in an alembic can be very full bodied. I'll just get a little model of an alembic and show you. Here we have it. This is a model of an alembic. Have a look. Yes, tiny little model of an alembic, made in Speyside in Scotland by a craftsman that makes models of whisky stills and alembics and such like. Now, the rums that are distilled in pot stills, some of them in the Caribbean can even be very very, very old and with congeners and different types of things attached to them. Some of them are even partly made of wood. It's incredible what they can do. Sugar cane, it comes from the Orient. A lot of people think it comes from the Caribbean, but it doesn't. It comes from the Orient, it comes from the Far East, and people brought it to Europe as a spice, as a sweet spice. You can get a sweetness without making honey without getting stung by bees, and it was a very desirable spice. And when they discovered the West Indies, they found that it had a great climate for growing sugarcane, and they started growing it, and they decided to distill it, and it had a very bad rap for a long time. And the reason it had a bad rap was that it had a great association with slavery. So its bad rap was quite rightly a bad rap. Slaves were paid for by rum. It's got a terrible, had a terrible reputation. And nowadays, it's risen from the ash of its black past. And alas, when it started to arise after the emancipation of slaves, and after people started to get more and more into making artisan rums, we had prohibition in the United States, which more or less put a lot of the new rum makers out of business. And then you had other such factors as the Second World War and economic problems, and the French ex-colonies, they started to feel the pinch because France wasn't importing any sugar anymore, because they were making their own sugar from beets, sugar beets, and that caused the industry a lot of economic problems. But now we're getting back to people really enjoying good quality, high quality rums, and very unusual for nowadays is and something very new is to finish rums again, or again. I don't think they ever did it before. The rums were usually matured in American oak or European oak, whichever the case may be. And as I said, this one from Guyana, it's from the Port Morat distillery. It's got Tempranillo cask, additional maturation, and I'm just going to taste it for you. 46% Renegade rum, lovely bottle, wee dog tag on it, very, very nice. I'm going to sniff it. Beautiful. Now, some people have emailed me before and said, could you advise me a rum which kind of approaches whiskey in any way? I can't, because rum isn't like whiskey at all. Rum just doesn't, it's a different product altogether. You can't compare it to whiskey, it's a different thing altogether. You have to really get a different mindset together to start sniffing and tasting it. Now, I'm turning the glass away from it like this, and turning it up, and it's very viscous. It's got lots of oils in it, it's syruping down, and it's got a beautiful, beautiful smell to it. Now, it's quite dry as a rum. Rums are usually very, very sweet things. This is very, very dry, and actually, even though I just said that it's a different product from whiskey, which it is, of course, of all these rums, I would say this one kind of approaches a single malt a little bit. Actually, a little bit like a single grain, very light and slightly dry, cloying in the mouth, and a bit of coconut. Now, second one, Jamaica. One of the greatest rum makers in the world, the Jamaicans. And I read in a book written by Mr. Dave Broom on rum that in Jamaica there are 3 bars, or 3 people to each one bar. There's 1 bar for each 3 people. Many, many rum houses in Jamaica, rum huts and small places. And this one also is, it's from the Money Musk distillery in Jamaica, and it's a famous house, and it's had Tempranillo cask extra maturation as well. Now we're going to taste this. Now, a whole different kettle of fish, totally different smell to it altogether. I'm smelling here bananas. I'm smelling pineapple. Soft fruits like pawpaw, mango. I just swilled it around my mouth and took a swig, and then I'll do it again because take away the taste of the first one. Now we're getting into what we expect from a full-bodied rum. A rum with lots and lots of body to it. Not a light rum at all, but if you're into something really, really complex, then this Jamaican rum is from the Renegade Rum Company from Bruichladdich. Excellent Jamaican. Beautiful, beautiful, typical Jamaican rum indeed. Lovely bananas. And they make their own, they have their own yeast cultures which they keep alive for many, many, many years. Now, I have to take out my little glass again because I can't read the small print. I said Banyuls, didn't I? This Barbados. Now, Barbados is some of the rich and famous live in Barbados, don't they? Because it's such a beautiful place. I mean, the azure blue waters is just unbelievable, seemingly. I've never been there, you know, but what I've heard of it. Barbados, Banyuls, and I'm going to have to swill it around in my mouth and swallow it and then taste it again to get into it, because I've got the taste of this one now, the Jamaican. Back into it. For now in the nose, it's got a very high ester content. This one. What esters are they're things that smells that rise up and tastes which are achieved by a certain way of distilling, and that in its most extreme form, esters can smell like nail varnish. Now, I'm not saying that this smells of nail varnish, but it's slightly there, and which isn't an obnoxious thing at all, because in the right balance, the master blender, will blend in different marks of rums. You'll have the high ester rums, and you'll have the low ester ones, and the ones with a little bit more phenols, and you'll blend them together to make one type of rum. And in this case, he's done a very, very good job of it. And Jim McEwen, the master distiller of Bruichladdich, who decided to finish it off in a Banyuls cask, he did something very interesting indeed, because apart from the rums getting their taste from the way it's been distilled, I mean, it gets a lot of taste from the heat in Barbados, and then taken to the island of Islay in the moderate climate of Scotland's west coast, and given a French barrel of which previously held Banyuls red dessert wine. Now, that's quite something. Now, let's have a sniff and taste of this. Now, interestingly enough, although it's been finished in Banyuls dessert wine, it's not sweet. This rum, this is what I would call a nice, very nice sipping rum. A beautiful rum to just sit back in your seat with and put your feet up, you know, and have a right good sniff and think about it for a long time. Rum, it's getting hot, ladies and gentlemen. And by that I'm not talking about the temperature. I mean, rum is a hot drink. It's really becoming more and more in. And quite rightly so. It can compete with some of the best single malt whiskies. And here we have them. Beautiful Bruichladdich or Murray McDavid. It's called the Renegade Rum Company. I'm not sure if it's available in North America at all. And I think it might be. And extra maturations, Tempranillo on the Guyana and the Jamaica. Banyuls on the Barbados. Beautiful stuff. Lovely little piece of packaging. Beautiful bottle even, you know, it's the bottle in itself is very nice. I'll bring it over one last time just as a switch off. And there we go. Look at that. Little dog tag on it, see? Now I see we're running out of time here. So, from me and from Holland, I'd like to say to you all, cheers, enjoy your rum.